initially, when we started this poultry farm, we started with the local birds, you know. But after some times, we just stopped without you understanding the reasons why we stopped doing the local birds over here. Local birds, these are the local birds that we have in our areas, like the local ones which are in your area. Those are the local birds. And in some areas, the local birds are very fat, like very big. Like in my area here, a male local bird can actually weigh up to 4 to 5 kilograms, just one local bird. So that's over here, like in my area. I don't know from your area. And then there are some areas whereby the local birds are very tiny, like very small. And in some areas, there are some local birds which are very skinny. They don't have that ability to grow very fat. So in this video, I'm actually going to give you reasons why I stopped keeping local birds and I started a layer poultry farm. My name is Jacob. I'm a poultry farmer currently doing layers, 1,000 layers. Okay, let's buy some numbers to make 1,000. One reason why I left local birds is that the local birds are not profitable. Yeah, to me, they are not profitable. Much as when you try to dig around and then look at the market side, you would find that among the broilers, layers, the improved birds, and then the local birds, you would find that the local birds are more expensive compared to all of these type of birds. So why am I saying that they are not profitable? Number one, in here, I'm actually talking out of experience. I have first-hand experience with the local birds. But this video shouldn't encourage some of you out there when you do want to start a poultry farm with the local birds, because you never know. My experience is not your experience. What I went through is not sometimes what you have gone through. There are some other people, like very many people, who have made it with the local birds. I'm not saying that local birds don't have money at all. They have money, and then there are also a lot of people that have made it through local birds, like I said earlier. So first thing as to why I'm saying that the local birds were not profitable to me, like they didn't give me any money, is that number one, how are you feeding your birds? Like what type of feeds are you giving your birds? And then when you try to look at it, if you are, let's say you are actually going to be giving them a little bit of commercial feeds, then you are going to spend some money on the feeds. And then second is that if maybe the birds are actually going to be looking for the feeds themselves, then definitely, of course, you would supplement. I'm actually not saying that 100% the birds will actually feed on the, let's say, on the grass. Like in most cases, I usually let my birds to move outside and then they scavenge and then look for the feeds. But that alone wasn't enough. So I had to supplement with the commercial feeds. Like I buy maize, I buy fish meal, I mix and then give it to the birds. But what happened is that these local birds are different from the broilers or the improved birds. So however much you give them the ready-made feeds, let's say the commercial feeds, the rate at which these birds convert the feeds into making their body is relatively very, very low compared to this type of birds, meaning that they really grow very slowly, like very slowly. Like let's say for a good local bird to, let's say for a bird, a 1 day old local bird, let's say it is hatched today to a point whereby it can start to lay. In here, I actually did it, and it took me close to 6 to 7 months alone. So with that alone, when you try to calculate the amount of the feeds that you put in a local bird, like let's say from day one up to a point where you can sell it, let's say like currently local bird, a good local bird, let's say a male local bird is at 30,000 to 40,000 Uganda shillings in my area. Meaning that if I'm to feed this bird for like 8 to 9 months, for me to sell it at that price, then I would have invested a lot of money in buying the feeds for the birds. And then when you try to calculate it, you would find that the amount of money that you are selling your bird at is sometimes lower than the amount of money that you have spent on the feeds. That's why I'm saying that it's not profitable to me. And maybe if there are other people who have made it in the local birds, then I don't think they 100% use the commercial feeds. I don't think so. Because if you do that way, then with a clean record on your poultry farm, you would actually see the losses that you're actually making. So that is number one. Number two, in my area here, when I was starting the local birds, it was a little bit hard for me to actually get good breed of the local birds. As in, like, after me completing like the poultry fence, the poultry structure, and then it came for me to stock in the birds, there was no any proper area where I could source my birds from. Like, let's say when you do want to, let's say, start a layer farm, you would go somewhere and then a supplier would give you the day old layer chicks. So with the local birds, I didn't have that. So what happened is that I had to go in villages. Like in my area, I would go in homes asking for people to sell me their birds. And at some point, I actually even bought birds which are already ill, you know. And when I brought them on the farm, they somehow infected other birds which I actually bought earlier on. Because all of these birds that I bought, I didn't buy them like from one home, or I didn't buy them on the same day. Like, let's say today I buy, let's say 5, tomorrow I may buy 6, the next day I may buy 1, like in different homes. And then first of all, it's hard for you to understand whether this bird is infected or not. And then second is that sometimes I may buy a bird, let's say birds which are of this age, like this size, thinking that maybe the birds will be very good at laying. And then when it comes to lay, a bird is laying 4 to 5 eggs and then sitting on them. Meaning that some birds were of poor quality breed of birds. But if maybe, because I've had now, other people are now selling day old local birds, which maybe if you're out there and then you do want to venture into local birds, I suggest you go for the, you go actually to the suppliers rather, and then get a good quality breed of birds to your poultry farm. Like we all know, in poultry farming, for you to succeed, the number one thing is the breed of the birds that you get into your poultry farm. I can get, let's say, 1,000 birds in here, but if the birds are of poor quality, you will find that at the end of the day, instead of collecting, let's say, 30 trays of eggs, I'm just collecting 10 trays of eggs every day. So that alone isn't financially reasonable. So the quality or the breed of the birds that you bring into your poultry farm matters a lot. With all of that, I sat down and then I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be wasting my time on this thing because I'll actually be fooling myself. So I actually gave it a break, and then today here we are with the layers, you know. So this information doesn't mean that you shouldn't invest in the local birds. You should invest, but when you actually do enough research, you know, like where are you actually going to be getting your feeds from? Once you have actually figured out that, and then you have done like everything correct, you can venture into the local birds. And then the good thing is that with the local birds, it will actually give you a hint on how you can manage this type of birds. Like for instance, when I started the local birds, I didn't have any information, like any much information of keeping birds. But with the broiler, but with the local birds, I mean to say, it actually gave me some clue on how I can keep these birds. Remember, with poultry farming, it is not only about, let's say, reading the books like brooding, you should do brooding this way, and then you come to feeds, you should do. Sometimes there are certain things that you have to handle them on the ground, like with the birds, so that you can know how the things are handled. In other words, it is like some people who are very good at theory, but when it comes to practical, you would find that he or she is actually doing opposite of the thing. So much as you do the theory part, make sure that you also involve yourself in the practical part of the journey. And with that, with the local birds, it's actually very, very easy. And the good thing is that with the local birds, you don't need like a huge amount of money, like some amounts of money to start. With like, let's say 5, 10 hens and a cock, you have started a farm. Honestly, you have started a farm. And then with that, you would actually know 1, 2, 3 things in the farming. And then next time when you're scaling up, let's say your local birds, when you're scaling them up, you are scaling them out of experience. You know, you are somebody who has experience compared to somebody who has never kept even a chicken. So with that, I think you would be good to go. Obviously, that is that on the channel. Don't forget to subscribe and be part of this awesome YouTube channel. As always, see you in my next video. Bye bye.